Okay, it is recording. So the exam went live this morning at 9 a.m. It will be live until 9 a.m. tomorrow. Remember that you are free to use a notes page when you're taking that. If anything occurs, send me an email, let me know what your technical difficulties are, and we can try to resolve that. The exam for today is on material from last week that we covered. We have one more exam after the one that for this week. And that exam, I just want to kind of put this out for you so that you're not surprised. The final exam, it's not a cumulative final, it's just the last exam that you'll take for the semester. And it's not on Tuesday, it's going to be on Thursday. And that, the material for that exam will consist of material that we are covering today, so Tuesday, Thursday, and then next Tuesday and Thursday. So the material for next week, it's already up and in the Blackboard folders. The material for next Thursday, it's relatively short. It is chapter 52, and it's only 2 sections, and it's kind of a reiteration of material that was related to the Intro to Animal Diversity. And so I wanted to let you know about that now so that you weren't surprised that material that we were covering next Thursday is actually on the exam. I have it in the Thursday folder, but it's available for you to start looking at any point now, so that it's not like you're trying to learn material at the same day that you're taking the exam. You can start looking at that at any point now. And it isn't entirely new information. It's just a little bit more detailed than what we covered in chapter 32, the Intro to Animal Diversity section. So I wanted to highlight that now so that you weren't, number one, expecting to take an exam on Tuesday, and that on Thursday you were familiar with that all of the chapters covered during week 5 and all of the chapters covered during week 6 will be on that last exam. And it is not a cumulative final. So I've been testing you or assessing you on the material as we go, so that, and we're not going to review all that information at the end as well. Let me go ahead and share what we're covering today. Okay, so we are here in week 5. Looks like everybody had worked on or completed the assignments from last week. I sent out some reminders yesterday, but things look like they've been completed now. The assignment for today is a single chapter, chapter 34. It's the deuterostomes, which are organisms that during their development, the first opening that develops is the anus, and the mouth in their digestive tract forms second. So deutero means second, stome means mouth, so the mouth forms second. For this, we also have an exam today, and there is a participation assignment which is due on Wednesday evening, and also the Smart Book assignment for chapter 34 is also available. So let me go in this folder for you. I have the exam is live. This early vertebrates, it's just a short video clip that I included there. The Smart Book and the participation assignments are both there. And then I have all of the videos for you that are available, video lectures that are available. So one additional feature that I wanted to remind you of, and I've talked to a couple of you already about this, so I know that it's something that it is on your minds, but your class project is due this Friday at 5 p.m. So August 7th at 5 p.m. You will complete this either a brochure or a video. It's up to you which one you find more interesting. For the brochure, it's a trifold brochure. I have, I think, a couple of examples on Blackboard for you. Please make sure when you're doing the brochure and the video, the main thing that you want to make sure that you're doing is you want to make sure that you're highlighting 3 levels of biological organization. So For example, if you're going to talk about, I think I used examples like coral or malaria, but another one that I'll give you an example of. If you wanted to talk about the red tide that occurs off the coast of Florida. Okay, so the red tide, it is caused by a single organism, Corenia brevis. It's a dinoflagellate, so you could talk about the individual organism. And then you could talk about the population level of Corenia brevis, which is the formation of that red tide, that huge bloom that forms in the surface of the water. And then you could talk about either community or ecosystem level impacts in that how the red tide, the toxins produced can actually kill or hurt some of the organisms in the water column. You could also, if you were more interested, you could talk about the subcellular or the molecular level. The red tide organism, Corenia brevis, produces toxins. Actually, it produces a suite of 13 different brevitoxins. So you could talk about that toxin production that occurs within the organism, or you could talk about the toxin level impacts on the organ systems of something like a manatee. So there's different levels that you can discuss it, but those are things that you want to clearly identify within your presentation. And if you are having trouble trying to determine what different levels there are related to the topic that you're interested in, let me know. We can either talk by email or via Zoom. I've talked to probably about a quarter of the class already, so don't feel bad if you wanted to get my input on that. I don't want you to lose points for something that you are capable of doing. Other things that you want to make sure that you're looking at for the brochure, you want to make sure that it is visually appealing, so that the font and the coloration are appealing, that you're using images that support the topic, and that you cite your resources. So make sure that you're using at least 3 sources, that you're trying to find a government resource, a peer-reviewed resource, and your textbook is another good resource. If there's nothing in the textbook about this topic, that would surprise me, but then just make sure you get another source about that. And if you're choosing a video, you can either make it where you're going out in the wild and kind of like recording a pond or recording the things around you. That's acceptable. I've also had students that have, similar to the videos that I've created, just made a video recording of a PowerPoint presentation, so that them giving a PowerPoint presentation, and that works too. Just make sure that it's within the 3 to 5 minute time period, and that you're making it visually appealing, you're hitting the content levels, and you're addressing the main concepts. When you submit it, you will click on the brochure, and you can attach the file here. If you have something like a YouTube video clip, you can kind of write a text submission and then just include the stable web link so that I can access it that way. What else? Just any of these, almost any file extension can be used. It is difficult, so if you do like a Google Doc or something like that, please make sure that you make it publicly available. I can't access Google Docs directly from my UT email. I have a Gmail account, and so if you shared something with a Google account, then I'll ask for permission from my very strange Gmail account, which is I made probably 20 years ago, and it's related to gelatinous zooplankton, so it's jellyzoop@gmail. So, but if you had to do something like that, you'll get a follow-up email from me so that I can request access to it. But it should be fairly easy for you to access. If you're interested in how I will be grading the topic, if you click View Rubric, actually the pop-up might not have shown up, but click this View Rubric and it will show you what I'm trying to look for. your literature cited, the organization, communication, content, messages, creativity, graphics, and your subject matter. So what I would recommend doing is pulling up that rubric before you submit it so that you have a good idea of what points you would earn based on what you're submitting. So I'm going to cancel that. All right, and so like I said, there are some examples here in some other folders if you're interested in looking at those. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing this. Okay, so deuterostomes. I was thinking about common misconceptions about this, and I don't have a huge array of points that I wanted to bring up. I guess the biggest things that I wanted to emphasize are the fact that it seems a little odd that organisms like sea stars and sea urchins are more closely related to your organisms with a backbone than a lot of the other organisms that we've looked at so far, especially since when you pick up a sea star, it looks like they're radially symmetric. So I just think I wanted to re-emphasize that the symmetry that you see in your echinoderms, it is a secondary pentaradial symmetry. So when you look at a larval sea urchin or a larval sea star, which are really cute little zooplankton organisms, the larvae actually are bilaterally symmetric, but as they mature into an adult, they develop this 5-part symmetry. And if you are interested in developmental biology, which is actually pretty fascinating, we commonly use sea urchins as a model organism to look at the development of embryos as a model for what it would look like in a vertebrate organism, because it looks the same, like in that developing embryo, it looks the same in a sea urchin as it would in a human or a frog. It's a kind of a very similar model because they're deuterostomes. So that's partly why they're used for that reason. The other thing that I wanted to mention, okay, so with your echinoderms, which you're probably looking at in lab as well, they're one of my favorite dissections to do. We've actually stopped doing them. We used to do them pretty regularly, but it turns out that there is this new disease that's affecting sea stars called sea star wasting disease. We don't know a whole lot about it, but we do know that populations across the globe are being decimated by this virus. So we're trying not to hurt the sea star populations by dissecting them needlessly. But what's interesting is that when you do dissect them, they don't have blood inside them. Rather, they're filled with water, and the water flows through a water vascular system. So those are going to be questions that you'll see, and there'll be discussion in the videos about this water vascular system and how it flows through this network of canals inside the sea star. All right, so those are some things that I wanted to highlight. And then in addition, the next group that we're looking at in the deuterostomes are the chordates. And the chordates that get the most attention are the vertebrates, because we're vertebrates. And so the vertebrates have a vertebral column, but all of your chordates share 4 characteristics. So those will be discussed in detail within your videos. And while those characteristics may not be present during the entire lifetime of the chordates, they are all present at some point during a chordate's life. And not all of the chordates are vertebrates. Okay? So, it seems a little odd because you think, oh, chordates, they all have a backbone. They don't all necessarily have a vertebral column. They all have what's called a notochord. And so within your more higher level organisms like your vertebrates, there's remnants of that notochord that are the intervertebral discs in your vertebral column. But in your more simple representatives, there's no vertebrae, there's no bones in the backbone, there's just a notochord, it's a flexible rod. So there are a number of invertebrate chordate representatives. And if you are not a marine scientist, you probably not ever come in contact with those organisms. However, if you are a marine scientist, you will come in contact with them. So as a plankton biologist, I commonly find different representatives in the plankton. So if you take oceanography with me, I will show them to you in the Tampa Bay. We find them all of the time. And there's other benthic representatives too. So they are common in marine systems. So they are part of the great diversity of life. So just to reiterate, not all chordates are vertebrates, okay? But vertebrates are chordates. Okay. All right, so those are the main points that I think I wanted to kind of emphasize. I don't have any poll questions for you. I couldn't think of any good ones to survey today. But that is everything I have. So if you have questions, I'm happy to answer anything. You can add them to the chat, or you are free to log off. I will see you guys again on Thursday. And if you do want to chit chat about any topics for the project, I'd love to hear your questions. All right. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.